two old guys and their records, one old guy for now while Sydney's lockdown restrictions continue. Mike and I have decided to press on, okay, with some fun segments. Last week we looked at great cover versions. This week we're looking at classic duets where two superstars come together to collaborate on a song. Okay, does it live up to the hype? Okay, so we've been looking at that throughout the week, and I'm excited about this one today. Right, today's I'm really excited because it is one of the major turning points in music history. We're talking about breaking down racial barriers. We're talking about intergenerational audiences. We're talking about everything. It changed the game. I'm talking about... That's right. Walk This Way, Run DMC, covering an Aerosmith classic original with Aerosmith on it. Now, no picture sleeve. You'll notice no picture sleeve. Unfortunately, I wasn't quick enough back then to buy it, but nonetheless, I did buy it. Okay, so yes. Now, it should not be underestimated how important this song is. Okay, because it does change the game completely. If we know how big hip hop is today, this is where it all started. You know, when it became mainstream, this is where it starts. Okay, so before we go into the song, let's look at some of the context behind the song. Now, the 1970s were Aerosmith's golden decade with a series of solid albums all the way through it. You got classic songs like Dream On, which remains timeless to even today. Okay, you've got, you know, the song Walk This Way. It was off the album, their third album, Toys in the Attic, and incidentally the title comes from Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein film. Okay, so you've got other albums like Rocks and the live bootleg album, and they are at their peak by the end of the 1970s. But you've got some internal friction, you've also got a little bit of substance abuse, and the wheels fall off, and Whitford and Perry leave the band. They leave the band, and then the band loses its way. There's an album, Rock in a Hard Place, and that's an aptly titled album because they are really struggling at this point. Okay, 1984, yes, Whitford comes back and Perry comes back. There's reconciliation. There's a comeback album, and that is Done with Mirrors, is critically acclaimed, but doesn't sell as much either, right? So that's where Aerosmith is. So on the other hand, we have Run DMC, and Run DMC are at the forefront, okay, of this new school hip hop music, okay, with other bands of course, but they're pioneers, right? And they are the first hip hop band to have a #1 album in a mainstream chart with 1985's King of Rock. So Jason Mizzle, Daryl McDaniels, and Joseph Simmons are out there, okay, and okay, their song Rockbox is the first hip hop song to be featured on MTV. So they are very historical. Walk This Way. Okay, how did this mashup occur? So you've got Rick Rubin, a very young Rick Rubin, working with Run DMC as their producer for Raising Hell. Okay, he had been discussing, you know, this possible, you know, inter-genre mashup with Sue Cummings from Spin Magazine and also Tim Summer, one of his friends. Okay, Aerosmith did come up in the conversation. Now, he went to the studio, that is, Rick Rubin went to the studio, and Run DMC were already scratching or mixing or looping that intro to Walk This Way up until Steve Tyler's voice. Now, he asked for the record, and he incidentally saw that it had been scratched off because Run DMC didn't want anyone else to snatch that record and get the idea, right, of what this tune was all about. Okay, so when Rick Rubin asked them, do you know who sang this song? They had no idea. And Aerosmith, no idea again. Right, so when he gave them the record to actually listen to, okay, they thought it was kind of hillbilly stuff, and they didn't want to do this mashup. Okay, likewise, all right, Aerosmith, it was a big move for them because they're on the comeback trail, okay, and then doing this new sort of music was very, very different for them. When they asked Steve Tyler for the video clip, he was very, very, very hesitant. He didn't want to be made a fool of. Okay, again, this whole new different music. Okay, he didn't want his reputation to be wrecked by this. Okay, so there was hesitancy. But what we did get is this vibrant new sound. Okay, this great inter-genre mix between rock music and of course hip hop. Okay, lots of energy, lots of fun. The film clip is amazing with, you know, two bands competing in the actual studio for the sound noise. Okay, you know, Joe Perry on guitar, Steve Tyler and Run DMC all on stage together at the climax. Okay, and they're all hugging and whatever it was. This was a golden moment in music, right? So where do we go from here? Okay, Aerosmith, of course, it kickstarts their career. They have a second wind, a massive wind, with albums like Permanent Vacation and Pump being massive sellers. Some people say that this kickstarted everything for their comeback. On the other hand, you've got Run DMC, massive. They enter, you know, mainstream society. Hip hop enters mainstream society. New audience. Okay, lots of white people embracing it. Okay, so that racial barrier's fallen. Okay, Aerosmith again, new audience. Okay, with their second wave because all these kids watching MTV. Hey, these guys look cool. Okay, win-win for everybody. And how does this hip hop impact rock music as rock artists adapt to hip hop? In other words, metal bands, thrash metal bands like Anthrax do I'm the Man. You know, a few years later, you know, Faith No More released Epic, and there's this fusion of styles in that. There was a movie called Judgment Night where every rap band or hip hop band collaborated with a heavy metal band. So rock accepts this new sound also. Now, am I talking this up? Is it really that much of a historical event, this single, Walk This Way? The global phenomenon that we know hip-hop as today, does it come from here? This point where hip-hop enters mainstream back in 1986. Discuss this, you know, give us your comments, don't forget to subscribe, like us on Facebook. Tomorrow I will be looking at another duet, probably the most oddest one that I've come across thus far. What a way to end the week. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. See you later.